Om Shri Sai Ram. I offer my most humble and loving pranams at the divine lotus feet of our beloved Lord, Bhagawan Shri Sathya Sai Baba. Revered elders, my dear brothers and sisters, a very loving Sai Ram to all of you. On behalf of the National Council of Sri Lanka, I warmly welcome all of you to this evening's satsang. Music is a gift from God. It is a divine art. There is something profound, powerful, and mesmerizing about music. It heals us and helps us ease our pain. It transforms us. It is a tool to connect ourselves with God. Swami himself is often personified as Nada Brahman or Shabda Brahman. That is the very form of music or sound. He is Samagana Priya, the one who loves music. Swami is the best role model we can all look up to. When there are multiple paths to showcase his divinity, Bhagavan himself chose to start his divine mission with a beautiful bhajan, Manasa Bhajare Guru Charanam. Needless to say that music is the easiest path to please the Lord. That is the power of music. So, today we have with us a very eminent person who can help us connect to our dearest Swami through music. We are pleased to have Brother Dr. Dhurjati Mudigonda, an instrumentalist and an alumnus of the Sri Sathya Sai Institute of Higher Learning, Prashanthi Nilayam, who will share with us his experiences with our beloved Lord and how Swami has motivated him personally to explore the depth of Veena recital. Dr. Mudigonda hails from a family with ardent Sai devotees. He learned to play the Veena under the tutelage of his father, Professor Veerabhadraiah Mudigonda. Later, while studying at Prashanthi Nilayam, he was blessed with the opportunity to play Bhajans on Veena in the divine presence of our beloved Lord Bhagawan, Sri Sathya Sai Baba. Dr. Mudigonda was also part of the orchestra Sai Symphony that accompanied various professional musicians visiting Prashanthi Nilayam. He graduated with a master's degree in chemistry from Sri Sathya Sai Institute of Higher Learning and currently manages a research and development group at a paper manufacturing company in Ohio. He has served in various roles at Columbus Sai Center and also has been the regional devotional coordinator for Region 5. Without any further ado, I now take great pleasure in inviting Dr. Dhurjati to share his experience with us. We also kindly request the devotees to share your questions with Brother Manoharan via the chat box while the satsang is on. Sai Ram, Doctor, over to you.
Sai Ram. First of all, I offer my salutations at Bhagawan's lotus feet, and thank you for such a loving introduction, and more importantly, the invitation to be part of your center's program this evening for you. It's such a great pleasure to recount Swami's incidents that he blessed us with, and also to just to go back into memory and think about how each of us, come to Swami. That's a story by itself for each and every one of us. So today I'll try to narrate some of those stories, and then I'll play Veena too. But before I start, I also want to thank Brother Manoharan and also Brothers Sanjeevan and other Sai family members at Sri Lanka for this warm, loving invitation. So Sai Ram to you all. So I wanted to start with a little introduction about how our families came to Swami. So the first visit we made to Puttaparthi as a family was in 1971. I was 3 years old at the time, and Swami, at the time, as we have heard, there were not too many people in Prashanthi Nilayam, and visiting Prashanthi Nilayam was a extraordinary a memory that I carry even today. That even though I was 3 years old, I vividly remember many of the scenes and sights, and obviously Bhagawan. And at the time when Swami came for darshan, Sai Gita, Swami's elephant used to come and garland Swami, and Swami would feed bananas or other fruits to Sai Gita. So I was sitting with my mother at the time, and my mother gave me some fruits, and she said, when Swami comes for darshan, you should offer it to Swami. And then she trained me a little bit. She said, when Swami will say, I don't need, then you should say that Swami, this is for Sai Gita. So I did, repeat this, and then Swami, pulled my cheek, and then put some vibhuti on my forehead at the time. Actually, it actually went onto my cheeks actually when Swami put vibhuti. And that was my first, interaction with Bhagawan. So Swami, got us to him through a very extraordinary circumstances, where my father really was agnostic at the time, and then somehow the incidents in our family have made him seek Swami's help. And Swami, as we all know, once he actually does this for us, our sufferings or our incidents in our life, where we feel it's a trouble, and Bhagavan is actually using those troubles so that he can actually enter our lives. And he would solve the troubles for each and every one of us, and he will put us on the path that he wants us to walk, so that he can give us what he came to give. In fact, Swami's interview room used to be called Korikala Gadi, which is wish fulfilling, room. And Swami, for every one of us who asks for anything, unless it's not good for you, he grants you that. He granted us, he grants everyone that. Many times he takes the time to, he chooses a time when he gives you that. And our role is to ask Swami. First of all, our role is to first have faith in Swami, 100% unshakable faith. And to that extent, to develop that, Swami is such a wonderful Lord that he is. Swami says, don't accept me, test me first, then accept me. But once you accept, you don't keep going back and forth and say, Swami, now today I don't think I'll believe you. And tomorrow you come back and say, but Swami, you are my everything. That waveringness is something that is, it's nothing really. Swami doesn't lose anything by our waveringness, but we are the ones who loses the continuity of sadhana when you lose the strong faith. And Bhagavan instructed in, by the way, every instruction that Swami gave, whether it is for devotees inside the interview room, or to the numerous conversations and discourses that Swami gave to students, he has essentially gave the same thing to devotees. Swami's message was never secret. It's always been, including the Gayatri Mantram. He went into the microphone and chanted Gayatri Mantram, so that he gave the permission for every one of us to chant. But then he also gave one more step. He actually instructed us to chant Gayatri Mantram. So everything with Bhagavan has been quite in open, especially his teachings too. So in that sense, Swami is, you develop your faith, and then continue on the path that Swami came to make us walk. So this is how the broader philosophical overview of the how we got to Swami. But on a material worldly level, it is very interesting how Swami brought each one of us to his lotus feet. Sometimes in directly to Prashanthi Nilayam. So 71 December was the first time Swami took us to his lotus feet, and he blessed us with a lot of conversations, and he helped us with resolving the family issues that we were going through. And in 1982 is when I had the wonderful opportunity to join Swami's institution in my 11th standard. And it was miraculous how it all happened, because I was not even aware actually that Swami is, there was an institute that we could apply to for the 11th and 12th standards. So one of my father's friends, he wanted to get an application for his son, and since his son and myself, we were close friends, but at the time of this incident, we both were in two different towns, so we didn't really have great day-to-day connections. So my father's friend sends a application to my father and asking that I apply to the Swami's institution. and so did my friend. We both applied, and somehow it ended up that I got into Swami's institution. My friend at the time didn't make it into Swami's institution, so it looked quite random, so to speak, how Swami kind of got me a seat in his institute. And I joined actually in Telugu medium, and then within a week or so, actually a little bit more than that, within the first month or so, they kind of changed everything to English medium and also central board. So it was a wonderful opportunity for me. And coming from a little town in Andhra Pradesh, to me it was a international audience with friends from with students from all across India, and actually even from Sri Lanka and Australia, and you have people from UK. So it was quite international student group that was studying together. And as you all may have known, in Swami's institutions, everybody is equal. You dress white and white, so there are no real, there's nothing that separates each and from other in terms of your material, what's the positions. We're all equal. We have a very tiny little place, a cupboard that you put your belongings, and you study there, and you have at least 5 to between 5 and 10 students in a room. So it's almost a community living, but such a wonderful experience. It builds the bond between each of us, and some of the senior students were such an ardent Swami's devotees. They guided us, and every evening we had satsangs. We heard Swami stories. It was a heaven on earth for us. Once we got adjusted to the new environment, it was really purely a heaven on earth to have been there, without any distractions, with pure focus on Swami. And then you have studies. And then for every student, Swami encouraged in enormous encouragement, really, in letting them pursue whatever their talents are. And it was never a comparison. It's never, Swami never really compared and say you did better than the other student, but he always pushed you to get better than where you were, previously. So it is a competition against yourself, so to speak. So you start getting better and better at what you do, whatever you like to do. And he never really allowed us to develop ego, because ego comes in the way of progress. And Swami, the knower of our own hearts, would actually intervene whenever you start building your own sense of ego. Then he reminds us that it is not good for you. I will narrate one or two stories on these aspects. So first I'll start with how Swami gave me a chance to play during his darshan. So prior to I myself joining in Puttaparthi, I think in 70s and maybe late 60s too, there was another great devotee and extraordinary talented devotee, I think Srimati Vijaya. She used to play Veena during darshan. Then when I went to Prashanthi Nilayam to study, at the time there was no one playing any music or no one playing Veena. And since Veena was our family, I learned from my father, and he learned from his brother, and my grandfather was a highly respected Carnatic musician, and he passed away when my father was very early, so we didn't get to see him. Sri Sadasivaya, he passed away in mid 40s. So, but that's been our heritage has a lot of music in our families. So learnt Veena because of that, and that's what I thought, at least. And then in '82, so I wrote a letter to Swami, and I said, Swami, I'd like to please give me a chance to play Veena during your darshan. And Swami came. Swami spoke to me. Swami is so God is never before interacting with Swami in physical, actually watching Swami physically, a photograph of Bhagawan always feels like he is higher than us. He is much higher. he's superior to us, and it's almost like a hierarchy. That God is the highest, so you just need to bow down and then make sure that you behave perfectly. Bhagavan Swami actually breaks that model quite a bit in that Swami always wants us to treat him as a friend. In fact, when Howard Murphy, I think first time he sees Swami in Prashanthi Nilayam in Vrindavan actually, uh, I think there was a young devotee who asked Swami, asking, said, "Are you God?" This is the young person asking Swami, and Swami says, "Yes, so are you." See, in the right next to that sentence, Swami elevates us to recognize our divinity. He never really, makes us feel inferior and that God is superior. That is something that really is striking in the physical presence of Swami that each of us experiences. At the same time, within no time, you suddenly realize how grand this Lord of the Lord is standing in front of you and talking to you. And there's so many experiences and miracles each of us have heard thanks to the internet. There's so many satsangs that we can follow, and wonderful, wonderful stories. In fact, some of them are so unbelievable, but I know that I have been witness to some of them too, and so are so many others. So this is a fantastic, fantastic, blessing that Bhagavan gave by incarnating on this planet, and also for all of us to have been born at the time when Swami has been on this earth, and also to have known Swami, whether some of us may not have seen in physical body of Swami, but yet we get to hear the stories, we get to watch the videos, we get to listen to Swami's discourses. So this is a fantastic blessing that we should really, really acknowledge, because once you acknowledge those blessings, I think we will make efforts to use them to progress our lives. So Swami comes and he stands in front of me and starts joking. He says, "Okay, you want to play Veena? You want to play on the coconut tree? You can climb like a monkey." Swami is just making just like how a family member in your own family would joke and talk to children in the family. And I was 14, I was 15 at the time. Uh, and and then Swami didn't say anything. Then after a few days, Swami comes up to hostel, and hostel we had hundreds of students, so I was not in the front. And Swami asked somebody, "Where is the Veena boy?" And nobody knew where the Veena boy was because they didn't know who the Veena boy is to start with. And so then they didn't quite answer what Swami was asking for. And then Swami goes back, and then I asked Swami one more time after a few more days. Then Swami says, "I came to hostel, I was looking for you, you were not there." See, Swami is amazing in that he's got his own time, and it is once you asked, it is there with him. He will give you when the time is right. It doesn't matter what you ask, he will give you, unless sometimes we ask for the wrong things and he'll protect you by not giving. And that I pray that he doesn't give when we ask for wrong things. But in this case, then Swami gave permission for me to play Veena. And mind you, at the time and even now, I don't really have great skills on Veena. I can play a few bhajans. Although I learned, I was never really, I never really learned properly, because in fact, Swami asked me that question. And the first day, this was in September 1982. I think it's September 9th, I think. So I was sitting inside the bhajan hall, and then Swami, it's actually this beautiful sight, when Swami walks down. See, Swami's living quarters are upstairs. And then you may have, some of you may have seen the bhajan hall. And the bhajan hall is where, generally you have Swami's chair, Swami's throne, and you have maybe a few hundred people can sit inside the bhajan hall. And the back side, you have the Krishna and Arjuna in the chariot, the Bhagavad Gita Upadesha sculpture. Very beautiful, actually. And then you have the Dashavataras in the hall. So when Swami gets down from just before darshan, he would get down from the upstairs to downstairs. So there was a window with actually opaque green colored glass. And when Swami used to walk down, you would see the silhouette of Bhagawan, just his hair slowly getting down the stairs. And then when Swami comes to the door, the first time he opens the door, it's just a sight. Your heart is filled with joy when you see that, because he just comes out and he stands there with a beautiful smile, and then very, very gently, very gracefully, Swami takes few steps and starts his darshan. So I would start playing during those moments, and the first time Swami came inside, Swami asked me, "So where did you learn your Veena?" I said, "Swami, I learned from my father." He said, "It shows, because when a parent teach their children, because of their affection, they don't enforce the discipline that is needed for you to get good at something." He said, practice a lot. Then he pointed out small details. See, that's one thing that Swami, in physical presence, that we learned, is that Swami is extraordinary perfectionist, and he doesn't canvas much. When he does an activity, he plans beautifully. He plans meticulously. Then he executes on his plan meticulously, and then Swami makes sure that his life has been his message. That's what Swami said. And so the responsibility, when you say that, is that everything that you do has to be a lesson for others to learn. So in that sense, everything that Swami did was to the perfection that you could conceive, you could imagine. So when you're thinking about playing Veena, so Swami pointed out every little defect I had. Some of them I still have after decades of playing Veena too. Is in the first few sessions where Bhagawan came to be there when I was playing. So Swami used to come and sit on the footstool, then just listen, and sometimes he'll be reading a letter, then he'll be listening, he'll be tapping. Then Swami would ask. One time he said, play Kamboji, or play Kalyani, and then Swami would sing the sangatis, those characteristics of those ragas. He would sing and say, "Now you play those things." So, why I wanted to mention all this is, sometimes we think, oh, everything is God. We really, God takes care of everything. We really don't need to do much. That is not a full understanding of what it ought to be. What Swami says is, he has entrusted you with wisdom, with the abilities to think, with the abilities to work. When you use them to the fullest, then you are actually being the instrument of Bhagavan. Then his message can actually be, practiced. So no room for laziness, no room for sloppiness, and no room for not prioritizing. So in that sense, Swami would follow up. So one time he asked me, he said, when you go for holidays, go and learn these ragas. He indicated, Begada, Kamboji, Todi. He said, you got to learn these ragas. And then when I came back, Swami inquired, what did I learn in each of those ragas? And he asked me, play, that kirtana. So it was very, very, it's a continuous, he's teacher, he's a teacher, but at the same time, Swami is also our master. But I'll tell you, I like to play just a little bhajan that I played in the first few times that Swami came to, bless me by being there when I played. So give me 1 second. So one of them is So this is another bhajan. Uh, the lyrics are the He Nandalala Gopala. I think you might know some of these bhajans too. Um, uh, so one more on like Ananda Sagara, and then Meera bhajans. So I think some of them are really So that's how Bhagawan used to sit there and he would listen and he would correct, and it's an enormous blessing that we can't earn. What Swami gives is something you can never deserve it. It's only when you consider and realize that you are his child is when you actually feel that yes, you are deserving. In fact, Swami said that when you think you are mine, then you deserve me. That's what Swami says. And I also want to talk about some other, beautiful, beautiful incidents, very, very dear to my heart, obviously, but it's also a wonderful lesson for all of us, and especially for me, to keep remembering, keep reminding myself of. So I'll play one of these bhajans, which I think most of us are familiar with. It's Sai Pita or Mata Sai. I think we probably know this bhajan where we basically say, Swami is our, mother, father, and is everything, And in fact, many times, some of these bhajans that we all sing are so filled with meaning. So many times we sing Namavali bhajans. Those are wonderful. Obviously, Nama Sankirtana is the best way to, practice and remember God. But there are other bhajans, so they're so filled with meaning too. So this is one of those other bhajans I like actually. So I'll play a little bit of this. It's a very beautiful bhajan where we say Sai Pita or Mata Sai. So when we say that, many times does Swami really like a father and mother, and does he really take care of us that way? That sometimes you feel, especially when you're in troubled times. So I remember one time, there are two beautiful incidents, and I'll narrate both. one of them is that one of those mornings in Prashanthi Nilayam, it used to be getting a little chilly and cold in the early hours, especially during winter times, like December, time frames. December, January, those are a little chilly in it used to be, at least in Puttaparthi. So one time, we, and then by the way, we used to sleep on just a little mat with one or two bed sheets and have a little pillow. Very simple living, as I said in the past. So I woke up, feeling really cold. Like this is early in the morning, between somewhere around 4 o'clock or so. And I put the blanket again and then kind of curl up a little bit and sleep, and then you warm your body that way. And I didn't really end up, I just thought, well, I wish I had it's not even a clear thought. I had a thicker blanket. So this was a thought that I had like in the morning, and this was while I was at Puttaparthi. Then we all go to darshan in the evening. Then I was playing Veena inside the Bhajan hall. And Swami asked one of the students to go inside and then start bring blankets. So he distributes blankets. He comes to the window, because I used to be inside the Bhajan hall while students were outside. And Swami calls me from the outside of the window. Then he gives me a blanket. And to me, it really, I really had tears, because many times you don't even need to ask Swami. Many times you don't even need to ask Swami to respond when you really have a need. That was a very, what I feel is that the Prashanthi Nilayam stay that, we had the blessing, just reaffirmed what each one of us experiences in our real life, even not being in Prashanthi. Prashanthi is wonderful, obviously. It's a punya kshetram for us that is our place to be at, visit. But Bhagawan responds to us wherever we are and whatever trouble that we are in. Many times we don't even need to ask. In fact, we don't even need to ask ever, actually, because once you depend on Him, He will take care of you. But you got to depend on Him. And I'll tell you the second incident where it kind of, I think, reiterates this message. So one other time, my father sends me a telegram and saying that, hey mother, your mother is very sick. She is in the emergency care. So to that extent, those was the telegram. At the time we didn't have a telephone at home, and then I take the telegram and I go to Swami's darshan, and I'm sitting in front of in the front line. And as soon as Swami opens the door, so I kneel down, and I kind of show the telegram to Swami. And Swami, looks at me and then looks past me. He doesn't respond. Then Swami goes on his darshan, and I felt very, abandoned, so to speak, because I thought in the time where I feel like, Swami, my mother is sick, and I need you to help me, and I cannot seem to have caught your attention to help me right now. It just felt so helpless, and I was crying, and I was crying literally with tears in my eyes. Then Swami goes on his darshan. Then he comes back and he's walking in with among the VIPs and he's talking to them. Then Swami calls me. This is after maybe about 20-25 minutes of the, me kneeling down with the telegram. Then Swami calls me. He said, "Hey, Dhurjati," and then somebody taps me. He says, "Swami is calling. Go." So I was in the front line. So I walked to the back, and then Swami looks at me. He says, "Your mother has a heart problem. Everything will be all right. I'll give vibhuti." And so Swami creates vibhuti, and he says, "Send it to your mom, and she'll be all right." And I was totally at peace by then, But then I got thinking about this incident, and then, by the way, my mother, she's both my mother and father, they live in Puttaparthi, and by Bhagawan's grace, she has gone through that incident, and successfully, and she regained health after that. But most important for me from this incident is that when you have a need, you sit there and you ask Swami for help, then the expectation in my head at the time was that Swami would right away come to me. He picks up the telegram, he looks at me, and he does whatever, maybe he gives me Padanamaskaram or tells me, don't worry, whatever the consolation part of that. I was expecting Swami to do that. But then that's when you realize that, when you go to the Lord of the Lords and present your problem, you don't present a solution also. You just present your problem. Let the Lord decide what is the solution for that. It's like going to a doctor and telling them what they should prescribe to you. If such is the case, why do you even need a doctor? So, when you go to God, when you ask God for something, ask what you want, but don't tell Him what the solution should be. Tell Him what your problem is. At least in my case, that is how I take that as the lesson. Best is not to ask anything, if you can. Be a child to Swami and then live your life to the fullest, and with all your faculties that God gave, utilize them to the fullest, and He takes care. He takes care wonderfully. And would there be surprises? It's always a joy. Every surprise will be a joy for us. That I think is the lesson of Puttaparthi for me. The lesson of Puttaparthi is that have faith. Swami is Swami actually said he is Sarvadevata Atita Sarupa. He is actually beyond all the gods. So because of words, they don't have enough capacity to describe. We say a lot of the Lords, we cannot try to talk about Swami as that. But Swami is the enormous blessing for all of us as humanity is that His presence, whether we've experienced directly or through stories from others or through videos, it is an extraordinary blessing that each of us have got into. And the second part of it is Swami wants us to recognize our own divinity. So for that, this is the step. You got to recognize your own full potential. That's how you actually start going towards that. Be independent. The dependent in the inner self is the independence. Be independent. Be, even for that matter, when Swami's life is Swami's message. That's what Swami said. Who did Swami pray to anything? We have Swami. That's an extraordinary blessing. But with Swami, when he did anything, he did everything with the full, the divinity that he is. That question even doesn't even arise. So in our cases, at least we have some, fallback on Swami. So with that as our anchor, we ought to be able to do anything and everything that we want to do. Never shy away, never fear. In fact, that self-confidence is something that Swami instructed that we develop. And to that extent, he encouraged, not with competitions with others, but to yourself. And get better, get better, get better. And then he also helped recognize what are the obstructions to that. So one incident I have to narrate is as you build your self-confidence, it can turn into ego. Because living in the world with our vasanas and with our karmas and with the society, sometimes these things are very easy to get into. At least that's an excuse I'm going to use. When I was playing Veena, with some of the visiting artists, I always, we did our the best we could do, and we practiced a lot. So one of the times, one of these, musicians told Swami that, Swami, your Veena boy is excellent. And I didn't realize, that they were being affectionate and loving in encouraging us. But I really took it as it's a validation of my extraordinary skills. That's what I thought. So, and then Swami came to me at the time and he said, listen to what they are asking you to play and then play well. He didn't compliment me. He didn't pat my back. He didn't do anything. I thought, why didn't Swami compliment me? Because that musician said, I'm really good. And then a day or two later, and I was sitting inside the bhajan hall. Swami used to come and talk to students between the interviews and the bhajan times, sometimes before the interviews also. And we used to have only evening darshan, so morning we used to be at college. So he comes up and he's standing I was sitting maybe in the fourth or fifth row, so Swami is standing in front, and Swami is talking generally, and then he said, sun, like SUN, the planet, our star, not planet, the sun, the star that we have, the sun, when he's shining, and if you stand in front of the sun, somebody who looks at you from front of you, in front of you standing, they see this brilliant effulgence behind you, and they mistake you that it is yours, and they may even tell you that it is yours. Obviously, I'm paraphrasing what Swami said and also describing that part. And the moment the sun is gone, it's just darkness. Then it was a message loud and clear for me. See, in everything that we have done, in anything that we achieve, whether we achieve or not really, in everything that we have in our lives, it is because of the grace of our Bhagawan. Or actually, really, it really starts with grace and blessings from our parents, our teachers. Then, there are all obviously forms of Bhagawan. But in Puttaparthi, Swami was everything. So in this case, it was Swami who was really, making us shine. And I forgot that part. When somebody says, oh, you play well, really it is his grace that is flowing through us makes it good, or, not because we come back in between that. If we come in between that, it starts souring. So that's a beautiful lesson. So the self-confidence is something that you got to build without really getting into the ego aspect. So you watch, that's why you never stop. You keep challenging yourself and you get better and better and better at that. See, this self-confidence is a foundation. Swami says, Swami talked about this in discourses. Self-confidence, and then self-satisfaction, self-realization, self-sacrifice, and then self-realization. So this is the order that Swami talks about. And so this is something that you get to witness and watch from close quarters while you're at Puttaparthi. That's a blessing. That's a blessing that, as I said, I was not deserving by my skills or what I did, but it is akarana. There is no reason for that. There is no reason for love. That's what Swami says. There is no reason for His grace. It can fall on any one of us. The only requirement is that Swami says, keep your heart clean, keep your cup empty. That's what Swami says. Then I can pour the grace. So keeping the cup empty is to getting rid of what is there in that. So that purification process is immensely important for each of us to get into, if we are not already, and if you are already on it, to expedite our journey, to keep watching, to keep monitoring. And this is the beautiful, beautiful journey that Bhagawan came to give us. And, with that, wanted to, thank all of you for this wonderful opportunity. I'm going to play a few bhajans now for maybe about 15 minutes or so. So 11:22. So this is a bhajan Madhuvanti, mostly Madhuvanti ragam. So it's Sesha Shailavasa Narayana. Satya Narayana Govinda Madhava. So I'll play one more bhajan which is Sai Sathya Palana. I'll play some of the bhajans that Swami sang, like Om Shri Ram Jai Ram, and then Shirabdi Shayana. So I'll play like a little set of songs that Bhagawan used to sing, mostly during the end of his discourses. Sai Ram. So with that, I wanted to thank all of you, and obviously thank our Swami for giving the opportunity through all of you. So Sai Ram.
Sai Ram, brother. Thank you so much for sharing your beautiful moments with our dear Swami, and also uh, your experiences with us today. It was truly a treat listening to you, and you just took us to Vaikunta. It was so beautiful. Thank you so much. We will now start taking the questions on. And our first question to you would be as follows. It is actually a request, brother. Sai Ram, brother, my humble request to play Raga Charukesi and a little bit of Aruna Ramana Bhajan, if possible, please. Is the request. Over to you, brother.
Sure, absolutely. So I like that raga, and that bhajan is also very close to my heart. So absolutely.
Thank you, brother. That was simply mesmerizing. Thank you so much. We have a couple of other questions for you. The second question will be as follows. When playing instruments during bhajans, how to make sure that it is not disturbing the bhajan's peace? Over to you, brother. Sairam.
So that actually is a very good and important question too, because I want to. The simplest answer is that any instrument that we are playing, it should not distract the the devotional aspect of the bhajan. That is, they are supposed to be support instruments. So whether it is the volumes or the ornamentation that happens, it ought to be kept to just to support it, not to overpower it. So each instrument will have its own way of controlling that, and that's very, very, very important. I say this, and I'll narrate a little, incident where Swami talked about this. When you sing, in Puttaparthi, when singers used to sing, Swami was very, he instructed, he guided us on what should be your facial expressions onwards. He would actually say, put a mirror and the harmonium to make sure, because you're singing in the public as a lead, you must have the as close to perfection as you can get to in terms of singing qualities, singing abilities, because you are leading others so they can all, follow through and then be in that devotional mood. And so nothing should be distracting, even from the singer, not just from the instrumentalists that are accompanying. And even clapping. In fact, I used to sit right in the first line and I would clap loudly because I thought Swami said clap loudly, so I clap loudly. Then Swami said, no, you can't disturb others. So I think that is the model for every one of us when you're actually participating in a bhajan with instruments. Make it, just a tiny amount of ornamentation is good, but it shouldn't distract. But the other part I must mention is, and when you are in a bhajan, singers, it's a lot easier for them to focus on Swami because you can close your eyes and then you can visualize Swami, and then actually the bhajan becomes meaningful and fruitful for you for having sat there for 1 hour. But for instrumentalists, especially, I used to struggle with this. And if you're thinking about the raga, if you're thinking about what you're supposed to do, your focus is gone away from the Swami. So it's harder. And see, remember, even as an instrumentalist, your role in a bhajan is to do your own practice too. Your own sadhana is to remember Swami in your head, in your heart, that you are playing in His presence. If that is absent, though, this whole thing, loses its purpose, of bhajan. So that would be my, at least my opinion about that aspect of it.
Thank you, brother. The next question would be as follows. How Swami emphasizes the importance of practice for instrument players? Over to you, brother.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So practice is extraordinarily important, So that without that, in fact, think about it. Swami says that each of us should engage ourselves on sadhana. That's what he says. Sadhana, it really translates to practice. Practice in everything that we did, just the meticulousness of practicing that Swami, instructs on the spiritual path. He does for us on the, on any of our, vehicles that we chose to, because it's no different than a spiritual, paths. But when you take music as a sadhana, it is the same as what somebody else could be doing as, a meditation or a japa. So if you're totally immersed in that, where your fingers and your, in fact, you should become a witness to the music that flows through you. So for that to happen, your physical level skills have to be really, 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 honed in. So you got to practice. You got to practice so much that, they say 10,000 hour rule for some of these musical musicians who are professionals. It is that by the time you don't have to put your mind's attention on where your fingers need to move, if it is a Veena, similarly to other instruments, where your hand needs to move. It should become so automatic that you can get to all the things that you can, a music idea that comes to your mind should be able to translate into your instrument seamlessly without you deliberately getting in between the process there. So to that, for that to happen, it requires extraordinary amounts of practice. So Swami made sure that we practiced a lot, and he attended practices too many times. In fact, many programs that were done in Swami's presence had months and months of practices, where every little detail, starting from which instrument should be playing in a music onwards, which song should come after which other song, who should sing next to who, every little detail that you can imagine. Swami actually led us to, take care of those things. He guided us, he instructed us, he monitored us on that. And I think it's exact same thing on, music practice. As each of us take an instrument or a, music as a path, it's important that, you give it your 100% that you have towards that. Obviously, we have other responsibilities too, but as much as we can, we should put that.
Thank you so much, brother. We have one more request as your way. Could you please play Patition Jagdhuri for us, or any other bhajan which is close to your heart?
Okay, one more Charkeshi. Okay,
Sure.
sure.
Thank you so much, brother. We have now come to the conclusion of this mesmerizing satsang. On behalf of the National Council and all our participants, our heartfelt gratitude goes out to our dearest Swami for sending us Brother Dr. Dhurjati Mudigonda and giving us an opportunity to listen to him. Sairam brother, thank you very much for taking time amidst your busy schedule and joining us this evening. We truly enjoyed. Thank you so much, Sairam brother.
Sairam, thank you very much. It's a wonderful, wonderful opportunity for me to think about Swami and to be with all of you. So, Sairam, and we'll meet one more time in the future. Sairam.
Likewise, brother. Thank you so much once again. We will now end the session with Om and Shanti. Jai Sai Ram.